What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Pilots Club, a podcast all about the first episodes of television shows and the many reasons why they may or may not be worth a watch. Every month, we pick a different pilot episode to watch and then discuss it here on our show. We release these episodes first and foremost to our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/the Whatnauts on our $3 tier and above. And then 2 years later, we release these episodes to a wider audience on a public feed. So if you want to catch up on 2 years worth of episodes, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is the place to do that. When we first made the Pilots Club, it was a little rough around the edges, so we wanted to polish it up a bit and repackage it, so to speak, with this new intro. And eventually you will stop hearing me doing this pre-recorded intro, and I will just start saying it as we record each episode. But until then and beyond, please enjoy the show and what it grows into. Welcome back to our Pilots Club. If you are watching this, you are a Patreon supporter at the $3 tier. So thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoy this one. This is our 8th Pilots Club. Can you believe that?
Wow.
8. That's a lot of them. A whole 8 of them. I don't know where I was going with that.
8. That's a number. Bigger than some others. Bigger than some numbers, smaller than other numbers. 8. 8 is 8. What are your feelings about 8? Please write in.
Exactly. This time we watched the pilot for The Shield, which was a crime drama that premiered in 2002 on the FX. So we got to watch this on Hulu. The Shield stars Michael Chiklis. It was created by Sean Ryan, and notable for being this kind of take on the crime police genre, where the police are corrupt. Like they're not necessarily the good guys here. Which a lot of those shows often was like, oh, the cops are the good guys. Hell yeah. Go good guys. Go good people. Keep us safe. That's wonderful. This was like, yeah, maybe not so much. As well as also having a bunch of notable actors come on the show in later seasons, including Glenn Close and Forrest Whitaker.
Wow.
This is one that I've always heard good things about, that I've had on... It's been on my list, but like not a priority on my list. It's just been there, like maybe one day I'll get to it.
Yeah. It's a show that I remember being very highly regarded when it came out, but I don't know if it's had the same lasting power as, like, you just watched The Sopranos. People are still talking about, oh, you gotta see The Wire. The Shield isn't quite at that longevity level.
I feel like it was kind of, no pun intended, shielded by The Wire. Wire is the one, like, if you want to say some very like realistic takes on this stuff, you want to see the corruption, how it affects the whole, like, go watch The Wire. And then I always heard that this was a good companion piece,
right?
Of like, if you also like that, there is this show.
Yeah, The Shield is only mentioned once you've already watched The Wire.
But this is one, I wasn't sure exactly what to expect with that, sort of like how it would be different. I enjoyed this, but also still not high on my priority list. Like it is also very dated. We're watching this in 2023 or in 2020.
No, we're not.
I wish I'm already living in the future.
You've got your cyber arm on right now.
Right? Yeah. Here it is. We're watching this in 2022, so this is a 20-year-old show for us here, and it feels very dated.
Yeah,
the way it's shot, the way it looks, the way it's edited, it's very quick, choppy cuts. A lot of the jokes are very dated, but I think in a way that is like, well, that's kind of the point of it. It's kind of dated. It's meant to show the corruption. It's meant to show that these aren't good people. So yes, their jokes did not age well because they are telling bad, sexist, misogynistic jokes, right? And so there is a level of, I guess, like authenticity in that.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one for sure. What did you think?
I think the pilot was compelling. I watched this one episode and I understood why this was a show that I heard about, even being like 10 or 12 years old, when it came out. I remembered seeing all the commercials for it on FX whenever it would be on FX just to watch a movie. I saw commercials for like this and Rescue Me all the time. I'm like, what are these adult shows? I don't want to watch these, but I wish I knew like a basic outline of what was happening. What's going on? Why are these so prevalent? This has been running for several years. It must be good. I wonder what's good about it. I wonder what grown-ups like about it. And I watched this one episode and I get it. I do see why this was a character and a performance that people returned back to. Season after season.
Yeah. It's an interesting pilot because it is also one that crams a lot into that hour-long
it's very
space.
busy.
There's so much that happens in this. And like I said, it's cut together really fast. It's almost choppy in that sense. But it reminded me of when we watched the West Wing pilot, where the West Wing pilot moved at 100 miles an hour, right? But I think West Wing was filled with more lingo and jargon, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas this is not. It is more of an he's an everyday everyman cop. He's just a man's man, right? Like he's not really using like importantly. He might be using slang every now and then. These kids, but they're not. There's like a level of like, okay, let's take that same style, but just bring it down to earth, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It isn't a everybody in the West Wing had an advanced degree, and I don't know if these characters do. It is very street level. It's very approachable in that regard, even though they are like these intimidating characters. They're very tough. The subject matter of this episode is very dark, darker than I thought a pilot would have. Like, how are we going to warm people up to the show? How are we going to introduce them? I know. A crack addict kills his ex-wife and sells his 8-year-old daughter for drugs, and she passes through 2 other sets of hands. Guys just keep trading her, and at the end of the episode, they rescue her from a sex dungeon. Welcome to our show. Thank you for watching.
And then on top of that, they go and try and do this like sting operation on this drug jailer. And they bring along this new guy who they know is about to snitch on them. And so they kill him while they're doing the sting operation. And it is like, I feel like it was almost going for shock value in this thing. Because there is also like one of the scenes I didn't expect is when they were chasing that one guy down the street who they know who had drugs, and they pants him like right in front, like no full frontal nudity, but they pull down his pants. You see his whole ass. Yeah, I was not expecting that from like a TV show of like the early 2000s. I mean, it is a more adult show, but it's still
was on FX.
The FX, yeah, it's still on cable TV. It's not like an HBO.
What? I guess you could have shown a couple butts per episode on FX.
Maybe.
I know there was at least one butt in NYPD Blue, so I feel like this show had to level that up and be like, we have 2 butts.
Yeah.
Come see how many butts we have.
We have raised the butt quota.
Right? This, like, TV in the late 90s, early 2000s was just in a butts arms race.
I love it. Now I feel like that's something we need to keep track of for our like end of the year retrospective. Like, how many butts did we see? The butts are
What's our butt
raised.
count?
What's the butt count? We need to graph this out. Like, butts are trending downward this year. Let's see.
Right, 20 years we'll look back and we'll know our most butt-tastic year of content.
Man, 2023, the year of the butt. God, that's funny. But yeah, like I feel like it is going for this shock value of just how much stuff you weren't expecting, or how dark can we make this without it really going to, because it starts out with a murder. It's there is this whole like child pornography pedophile stuff going on in there, and there is a character who is trying to get these suspects to talk about it by trying to converse about this stuff and the stuff that they like about, and it's uncomfortable, right?
It really is, but I feel like it is used in a way that does tell you something about that character. Like
he's trying to outsmart them.
Yeah. I read a lot of TV Guide as a child and as a preteen. Big TV Guide kid. That's how I am today. And I remember reading lists of like top like TV characters at that time, and Vic Mackey was pretty high up there. I do remember like that character and that performance being really, I don't know if I want to say well liked, but like held in high esteem. And you get even in just one episode, you get a really interesting portrait of this guy and like how tough, how ruthless he is, how he really doesn't seem to care about anybody else. He doesn't treat any of these perpetrators like humans, but he does have these human moments. Like he encounters the sex worker who it seems like has been an informant to him in the past, who he has some sort of relationship with, and he looks at her and he's like, you look really thin. Are you eating? Do you get enough food? And he like gives her some money, and he knows that she has a son somewhere, and he's like, here's money for you, here's money for your son, feed yourselves. And we see him with his family, which is, we can see that he cares about his family. He's like, it's like a very innocuous suburban image. Like there's having a barbecue in the backyard. His kids are playing in the pool. His wife's carrying a baby.
Like that happens a lot in the Sopranos. Yeah.
But one of the most chilling and I think effective moments of this pilot episode is when they've got this pedophile character who's the final person they think they can trace this missing young girl back to, and nobody can get him to talk. And the chief, the chief, Aceveda, who doesn't like Vic Mackey, is like trying to crack down on this guy, has real strong suspicions for him, has to call him in. Like, I don't like this guy, I don't like his practices, but we're like running out of time here. We have to find this girl while she's still alive. He's the only person who I know can get this job done. Even if it means I am giving into him and his larger bad ways, I need to win this one battle. Yeah. Even if it means I'm like losing ground in this war. And like Vic Mackey goes in there and he starts talking about his own daughter. Like, oh, I've got my own girl, Cassidy. She's like 8 years old. You want me to bring her in here? Do you want to do these things with her? And the guy's like, no, what are you talking about? And Vic's like, well, I heard you talk to that other girl. What has that girl got that my Cassidy doesn't have? And there's this moment you would expect from other TV detectives, just like channel surfing and catching 5 minutes of Law and Order SVU at a time. You've seen this moment in other things where this detective who's a parent realizes that could be my kid out there. This kid that's in danger, that could be my kid. I have fear now. And Vic Mackey is fearless. He is directly using his daughter, like not literally her, but the idea of her as this ploy, as this bargaining chip. And there's no discomfort in his face at all when he's talking about, hey, would you like to do these things to my daughter? Like he's fearless. Like he's already gotten past this moment we've seen in so many other crime shows. He's already confronted that and like accepted that as part of reality. Like, he lives in this world of risk. He's so comfortable with playing things risky that things like his, that, if this was really the situation, he would be scared. He would be concerned for his family. He would do everything he could to protect his family. But in this theoretical space, he can use danger to his family as this story to illustrate a point, to get what he wants, as this sort of theoretical bargaining chip.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's already at that level is very interesting. And then to see where he goes, how fearless he is now, what does he go on to do? Are we going to see situations where he is as scared and as uncomfortable as we would have maybe seen at this point from somebody else on TV?
Mm-hmm. What's interesting to me about the show, and that scene in particular, because that was one of my favorite scenes too, right before that, when they each have their own way of how they think to best get the info, and they're like, no, we need to do it this way. Your way won't work because this. And they're like, no, your way won't work because that scene was fantastic. But what's interesting about this show is that, the premise is that, hey, the main character, the protagonist, is the bad guy. Like, he is not a good guy. He needs to be dealt with. And that is like the police chief's mission, is to like secretly handle this so that one day he can run for mayor and be like, I rid the police department of corruption. I did that. Like, here's why you should vote for me. But in that scene where they're debating on how to get this info to save this young girl, he is the one that is like, we're gonna have to call in this one guy that I don't like to do this. And so it's just, despite the premise, immediately you see him like go like shrink back into this like moral gray area and get wrapped up in this like, well, you also employed him to do this stuff and get the information that you needed to. So who knows how this mission will go? Will you get him? Will you root him out? Will you see things his way more and learn that like, despite the corruption, he is controlling things. Like, he is metering out the drug situation in the community by stomping all competitors out except one guy that he has a relationship with, so that he can control it and know like, hey, if nothing else, like, it's we have a control of the situation here.
Like, he can, like, we watched the Godfather movies the other week, and for all the crime that family does, like, Vito Corleone has a line against like hard drugs. He's like, we will do in gambling, we will do in smuggling, we will deal in sex work, but like, I don't want anybody on drugs. Right. And to see that there are these different lines that characters draw, like Vic Mackey, there's this criminal he brought in who's now suing him for brutality, and that he like took some pliers and like pinched at his arm, like really almost tortured the guy. And the guy was brought in on having a lot of heroin. I forget the amount, but a lot of heroin.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's bad, but heroin is bad also. Like, you see that for every bad thing he's doing, you're like, well, a couple like ripple effects out from that, I can see how something good might come of it. I don't like his methods, but I comprehend that some of them could result in a positive effect. Maybe not the best case scenario, but all right case scenario.
It
like,
almost
ECH Pounder has this speech at the end, maybe not a full speech, but she has this discussion she's having with somebody else at the end of the episode where she's like, what the people in this community want is they want to be able to walk home at night and not be mugged. They want to come home from work and see that all their stuff is still there. They want to know that if they hear about a murder the next neighborhood over, the next day they're going to hear that they caught the murderer. Like, for as many bad incidents as Vic Mackey is creating, there are also people who have a sense of security hand in hand with those incidents of violence. And she's like, I don't know. Maybe that is how the math checks out.
Yeah. It almost makes me think of like when you treat someone for something like meth or something like that, like doctors will often wean them off of it instead of just being like, all right, we're stopping here, we're giving you something that like they'll be like, all right, we'll give you your next hit, but it'll be smaller, and then the next hit after that will be smaller, and then like we'll wean you off. So there is this like, we'll continue that, like this thing. It's not a good thing that you should be on, but it's maybe the best way to get you off of it. Is like it feels like a similar situation to that. It's not exactly, it doesn't map 1-to-1, but it is this like, he is doing some good in the long run, but he's also doing it in a way that's like, you're still kind of perpetuating this stuff. But like I said, at the end of the day, he's in control, or at least he thinks he is.
Yeah, when Aceveda and that newer guy on the team who might rat him out, who might be the witness, be the person who goes to internal affairs, like, I have seen him do this. They are talking about how if we don't completely crush him with any case we bring against him, if we only wound him, he's going to call in all these associates, all these contacts, all these people who owe him a favor, and then our careers are over. It is like kill or be killed. Those are the stakes already in episode 1.
Yeah, which is pretty intense. I enjoyed it. I would like to continue watching the show and see how it what made Glenn Close say yes to a role in the show. Right, like that's interesting to me. It's like, she's not just a cameo. Like she held a major role in the show. What made Forrest Whitaker be like, yes, I want to be on this show? That's interesting because I mean, it like we had at the start. Looking back, it's aged in a weird way. There is a lot that's just like, ugh, like I don't know if I would have made this choice, but like at the same time, I get it. I see what they're trying to get at, and it makes sense. Of just like, I think I can see why this would go on to be a critically acclaimed show.
Yeah, I think with the subject matter, with the show they wanted to make, it was a show that was supposed to be of its time. It's not a very forward-thinking show. I don't think it's supposed to be timeless. And things like the really abrupt cuts, the kind of shaky camera work, the fact that when there's text on screen, the text jitters, like created by Sean Ryan, will vibrate at you. Like, I don't like the visual styling of the show.
Yeah.
But I understand it. And I understand how that was effective in the year it came out. And there are things that I think the show is a great cast. CCH Pounder, a legend. Walton Goggins is in this. He's always cool to see. And I was familiar with Michael Chiklis. I think I remembered his name because it sounds like Chiclets, the gum.
He was the Thing in those Fantastic Four movies. That's what I know him from.
Yeah, he was, I think, in the American dub of Spirited Away, I think he plays the dad who eats a bunch of food and gets turned into a pig.
Yeah.
He's a really interesting performer. Like, he's got the bluest eyes you've ever seen. And to have eyes so beautiful in such a tough character is really interesting juxtaposition. He's the burliest guy, but he's also short. Like, he's just such an interesting physical presence. He is really compelling to watch. I can see this being a show that other really well-regarded actors would be like, I want to be in that playground. I want to act against those people.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. That's our thoughts on the pilot of The Shield. Melissa, it is your turn to pick what we are doing next.
Yes, we are doing another pilot of a show that wasn't picked up for a full series. I believe this pilot did air as a one-off special.
Okay.
This is the 2012 pilot for Mockingbird Lane, an updated version of The Monsters. And I picked this. Yeah. Well, this will be our episode for October, where I wanted something spooky. And this pilot was developed by Brian Fuller, who shows Hannibal and Pushing Daisies and American Gods. We've covered season 1 of those on the review show before.
All
so I thought, let's get more. We haven't talked about Brian Fuller in a while. Let's watch his pilot for Mockingbird Lane.
We could always be Fuller.
Yeah. Let's have a very full month here on Patreon. This was a 2012 pilot. It was 39 minutes long. It was produced for NBC. And like I said, this pilot aired on October 26th, 2012 as a Halloween special.
Cool.
But was not a full, wasn't picked up to full show.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I've always been curious about this thing. I look forward to watching it.
Perfect. That's what we'll do this next month for October. Spooky season. Good old spookums. But yeah, that's it. Once again, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this. It means a ton. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.